Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Radiant You podcast. I'm your host, Lissa Cole, and today we are continuing our guided journey through the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. If you've been following along, we've already explored what it means to let go, not as apathy, but as awareness. We've learned to say, let them, to release what's not ours, and let me, to reclaim what is. But before we begin, I want to take another moment to get settled. I want you to grab your book, the Let Them Theory book by Mel Robbins. Yay! And don't forget the Radiant You workbook. It is in the descriptions down below. And if you need to get your favorite journal or your notebook out, I always do that as well. And it feels so good, to have my own, just my own space. Maybe even grab a cup of tea or coffee. Hopefully you're with a friend or you're by yourself, and whatever is comfortable for you, something that helps you feel grounded and present. And if you're driving, walking, or listening while you go about your day, take a deep breath and let this space meet you right where you are. Because this isn't just a book study. It's a guided journey of radiance. One that invites you to slow down, reflect, and reconnect with your inner love. And I'm feeling, again, that we need to take just a radiant pause. So let's take a deep breath together. Let's go in through our nose. Maybe count to 5 as you're breathing in. And out through the mouth, maybe a 6 or a 7. Let go of the day, the noise, the pressure to get it right. You've already shown up, and that's where the radiance begins. In this episode, we're slowing things down even more because sometimes peace begins not with a change in circumstance, but with a pause. Mel begins chapter 3 by describing how stress shows up when we feel out of control. It's that moment when everything inside you wants to fix, explain, or manage, and yet nothing seems to help. She writes, when you're in control mode, you're not present, you're protecting. Wow, that line really resonates deeply, doesn't it? Because control often disguises itself as care. Think about that a minute. It tells us we are responsible, helpful, even loving. But underneath, it's really fear. Fear of being disappointed. Fear of being misunderstood or unseen. And right around page 55, Mel gets even more direct. She reminds us that we can't control how other adults behave. She says that when we keep trying, it only drains our energy and power. Stressing about someone else's choices doesn't change them. It only changes us. She writes that our time and energy are two of our most valuable resources. And I smile because we've talked about this with Radiant in our Radiant You podcast, that you have to protect your time and energy. They are the most valuable resources, and protecting them is an act of self-respect, self-love, self-care. In my words, when you waste your light trying to manage someone else's darkness, your radiance dims. It begins to dim. When you waste your light trying to manage someone else's darkness, your radiance begins to dim. You'll never reach your full potential if you allow other people's rudeness, moods, or chaos to keep stealing your calm. That's where the let them theory becomes a practice of protection, of guarding your peace and refusing to hand your joy to those who haven't earned it. And as Mel continues into page 57, she helps us understand why this all feels so hard to do. She writes about how our stress reactions are often automatic. That moment when your body goes on edge before you even have time to think. You know that feeling. When irritation rises, your chest tightens, or you send that text that you regret before you even realize it. Or you're standing in a long line, trying to be patient, but you can feel your frustration building, even though you wish it wouldn't. Mel says these are all examples of how your reactions to stress can quickly become a problem in your life. You can't control what's happening around you, but you can control how you respond to it. Boundaries. And that's the heart of today's reflection. Awareness. It's noticing what's happening in your body and mind before you get swept up in the wave of emotions. It's taking that small, sacred step back and asking, what's happening inside of me right now? Where is this coming from? And what do I need in this moment? This is what I tell my clients all the time. To become a gentle detective of their own inner world, their thoughts, their feelings. To get curious instead of critical. To slow down enough to recognize the patterns before they take over. Mel expands on this beautifully in chapter 3 when she introduces Dr. Aditi Naraka, a Harvard physician and stress expert. Dr. Aditi says stress is a much bigger problem in your life than you realize. She explains that stress doesn't just make you feel tense, it shapes your thinking. It's the reason you start doubting yourself. It's the reason you procrastinate or compare or doom scrolling late at night when you're too tired to even care about what you're reading. If you've been having trouble focusing, feeling joy, or keeping up with self-care, the reason might not be a lack of motivation. It might be chronic stress, quietly running the show. Mel writes that stress activates the inner critic, that loud, relentless voice that tells you you're not doing enough, that you should have known better, or that everyone else has it way more together than you do, or you're not important. And she's right. The critic gets louder when your body is in survival mode, stress mode. Then she shares Dr. Aditi's research that 7 out of 10 people are currently living in a chronic state of stress. Think about that. 70% of people walking around right now are wired for tension, not peace. And we see it everywhere, in short tempers, overthinking, burnout, and that constant sense that we can't quite catch up. This couldn't be more true in today's world. I see it all around me at our grandbabies' competitions that they go to, whether it's hockey or basketball, although basketball is really fun, or, oh my goodness, we saw something today at wrestling. Whoa, there are a lot of adults that are really stressed out, and it is all around us. So with the pace of information, the demands of work and family, and the noise of social media, our nervous system rarely gets a break. We're living in constant reaction, not reflection. And that's why I love what Dr. Aditi calls hacking your stress response. On page 62, Mel explains how this works. The moment something stressful happens, an argument, a disappointing email, a change in plans, your brain launches into survival mode. But you can interrupt that pattern with 3 small, powerful steps. Number 1, say let them. This immediately helps you release what isn't yours to control. Number 2, put yourself in pause. Give your body a chance to exhale before your emotions take the wheel. Number 3, say let me. As Mel writes, let me take a breath. Let me take another breath. Every time you do this, you're slowing your stress response and calming your brain. You're reclaiming control, not over the situation, but over your energy. On page 63, Mel writes, catching your stress response by using let them and let me empowers you to choose what you say, think, or do instead of allowing your emotions to hijack your response. And then she adds something that I think is a pure, radiant truth. You'll start to see that a lot of what used to set you off isn't worth your time and energy. That's the shift. When you practice awareness, what once drained you starts to lose its grip. Your peace becomes stronger than your triggers, and the less you react to the things around you, the more in control you will feel. Not of others, but of yourself. The more in control you feel, not of others, but of yourself. As Mel says, by saying let me and resetting your stress response, you are now back in control and can choose how to intentionally respond. And isn't that exactly what we talk about here on the Radiant You? Stress, awareness, and intention? This moment, this practice, this science, it all circles back to what we've been saying all along. Take your power back. Let's ponder over this and let it land. Think of a recent moment when you felt unsettled or anxious because of someone else's reaction or opinion. What power did you give away in that moment? And what might it feel like to take it back gently? Mel talks about the nervous system's response to stress, that instinct to jump into action, that instinct to jump to fix, or overfunction. She explains that the let them theory interrupts that automatic pattern by offering a pause, a sacred moment between reaction and response. In Radiant You language, this is really rest and review. It's the practice of noticing your body before your mind takes over. She shares when you feel the need to control, that's your cue to stop, to breathe, to remember that peace doesn't come from forcing things to change. It comes from letting yourself stay still. That's what I call a radiant pause. It's not giving up. It's grounding down. Right now, take one slow breath. What happens in your body when you stop trying to solve and simply notice what's happening inside you? Mel goes on to describe how our brains associate control with safety. When things feel uncertain, the mind starts grasping for certainty through people, outcomes, or routines. But when we practice the let them theory, we're retraining the brain and body to find safety within ourselves instead of outside of us. That's where this chapter connects beautifully to Radiant You, because rest is what brings the body out of overdrive, and review is what helps the mind rewrite the story. So when Mel says the more you try to control what you can't, the more anxious and exhausted you become, she's reminding us that peace is physiological. You can't think your way into calm. You have to breathe your way there. Rest your way there. When was the last time you felt yourself spiraling into stress? What would it look like to interrupt that pattern with a breath, a pause, or a gentle thought like, let them, let me? Let's talk about that radiant pause, the sacred pause. Mel describes this in chapter 4 as the power of not reacting, of letting a moment breathe before you do. She writes, when you create a pause, you create choice. You give yourself the chance to respond from peace instead of panic. The sacred pause is one of the most radiant tools you'll ever practice, because it puts space between your emotions and your expressions. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're choosing clarity over chaos. What does your sacred pause look like? Your radiant, sacred pause. Is it a breath, a short walk, a prayer, a moment in the car before going inside? How can you practice pausing before reacting? And remember, the pause is sacred and radiant because it restores the power. It turns, why did this happen to me, into what can I learn from this? It replaces overthinking with observation. The beauty of the let them theory is that it meets you in the moment. Everyday stress becomes a chance to practice awareness. So when that email frustrates you, when your plans change, or someone's tone rubs you the wrong way, instead of reacting, whisper, let them, and then breathe. Then whisper, let me, and choose your next radiant step. This is what Mel means when she says the let them theory isn't about avoiding stress. It's about responding to it differently. And that's what our rest and review pillar is built upon. The idea that every pause is an act of power. Where in your day can you build in small pauses, moments of breath, silence, or reflection to reset your mind and body? I invite you to start noticing the tiny moments when you can choose presence over pressure. Each time you do, you're building a habit of peace. You're rewiring your nervous system to trust calm more than chaos. I want to repeat that. Based on trust, all of this. And here's what I think. You're rewiring your nervous system to trust calm more than chaos. That chaos that you're used to. It feels normal, right? That's not my favorite word anyways. But you learn to trust what you're used to. Each time you say, let them and let me, remember you're building a habit of peace and rewiring your nervous system to trust calm more than chaos. So when your life feels heavy, remember, you don't have to fix everything. You don't have to respond right away. You don't even have to understand it all. You just have to pause, breathe, and let your radiance rise back to the surface. Before we wrap up today, Mel ends chapter 4 with a powerful reminder that ties everything together. You control your next move. You control your next move, and reminds us that we can decide what the right response is for us, because let them is the release, the letting go of what's not ours to manage. But let me is where awareness becomes action, and you get to decide. Mel says that learning to discern which responses are worth your time and energy and which ones aren't will change your life. She illustrates this so vividly with a story about taking her dogs for a walk at a local state park. It was supposed to be a peaceful outing, but everything around her started to feel chaotic. Off-leash dogs, loud people, tension in the air. She could feel her irritation rising, that urge to comment, correct, or react. But in that moment, she caught herself. Instead of letting the stress spiral, she remembered the practice. Let them. She took a breath, looked around, and reminded herself that she couldn't control what anyone else was doing. But she could control how she responded. So she said to herself, "Let me just enjoy my walk." And in that instant, her energy shifted. The same environment, but a totally different experience because she chose peace over participation in the chaos. That's what "let me" really means. It's not about what's happening around you. It's about reclaiming your energy inside you. It's the moment awareness turns into action. When you choose, when you respond with calm, intention, and radiance. So next time you feel the urge to fix, defend, or react, pause and ask yourself, is this response worth my energy? Is this helping me stay radiant, or is it dimming my light? Think of a recent moment when you reacted quickly, maybe said something in frustration or tried to fix a situation. What might have shifted if you had paused and asked, what response here is truly worth my time and energy? Remember, the radiant, sacred pause is a doorway. It leads us from awareness into freedom. As we move forward in our journey through the Let Them theory, we'll begin exploring how to bring that peace into the chaos, how to create calm even when life feels unpredictable. Because peace isn't about what's happening around you. It's about what's happening within you. So keep practicing your pauses. And remember, each one is a return to radiance. Thank you for being with me today. Invite a friend next time. Make it fun. Get coffee, discuss the book, the podcast. Enjoy your time together as you learn. As we walk through this season together, remember, radiance isn't about perfection or performance. It's about peace. It's about growth. It's about shining from the inside out. It's a journey. And by simply showing up, you're already on it, that journey of self-love. Okay, I'll meet you right back here in our next episode of the book study of Mel Robbins' The Let Them Theory. We'll be working on the chapters 5 and 6 and my guided journey of radiance. So breathe in and out. Let them and let you be radiant. Shine your light.